Third tone, 2 dialogues. The Mad Kidnapper Incident. This is a folk story from Shanxi that even walking into science wouldn't dare to report. The level of horror is comparable to the most shocking scenes in a movie. The psychological coping of countless miners. I suggest watching it together with good friends during the summer. This is the shocking nationwide incident of the crazy robber. The story takes place at a black kiln in Shanxi. Several miners are engaged in tight frame operations. Just when they had dug halfway through the mine, a strange thing happened. Suddenly, a strange opening appeared. The dark cave entrance was still exhaling cold air. A Cheng wanted to check the situation in the cave. He leaned into the hole. He originally thought it was an old tunnel that had been opened up. Upon peeking inside, they were taken aback. There was actually a vast, bottomless pit. He leaned at the cave entrance and looked down using the light. But the headlight has a limited range. Can't see the bottom at all. So he took off several people's hats and tied them together. Lower the rope down the hole. It wasn't until the rope was lowered 70 or 80 meters that it finally reached the bottom. Then, using the light from the headlamp, I looked down. At the bottom of the black hole lay countless buried bodies. And still soaking in dark red blood water, like hell, a Cheng had experienced several mining accidents. But I have never seen so many dead people. Soon, the news spread to other colleagues in the mine. The miners eagerly crowded to peek into the cave. Someone pulled the wire and lowered the light, illuminate the bottom of the cave, but saw the red liquid in the hole, soaking hundreds of humanoid monsters. Old Master Wu, who was knowledgeable from years in the mines, said tremulously, "This is the mine stairway. The mines with stairs are all rich mines, but it costs a life to spend. The more mining steps there are, the more people will die. Peace will only come when enough people have died." Everyone was shocked to hear something so eerie. There are only about 100 people in the mine. If it's true, then won't they all die out? Everyone went to find the old party member Wu Pangzi to demand their wages. Ready to leave, done with it. As soon as I entered the room, I was knocked to the ground by Wu Pangzi. Wu Pangzi made a tough statement. Let those people come back honestly. He instructed his subordinates to prepare more explosives. Blow up that cave entrance. The next morning arrived in the blink of an eye. Several gunners prepared the explosives. But suddenly, they couldn't find Wu Pangzi. A coworker said he saw Wu Pangzi walking into the mine at night, and their expression was like that of a sleepwalker. Everyone rushed directly towards the mine. Unexpectedly, everyone witnessed an incredible scene. Wu Pangzi was found dead in the deep pit, eyes and mouth wide open, as if seeing something terrifying. The boss is dead, and there's nothing left to do. The miners all said, Wu Pangzi is the first life lost in the mining community. We still don't know how many lives will be lost in the end. So this mine was later taken over by another owner. The new boss first brought a whole truckload of pearls to the mine. Then they herded those pearls into the mine and set a trap. This is a true supernatural story that took place in Qingzhen County. It is said that the monster is 3 meters tall, frequently attacks passing people or vehicles. The level of strangeness may exceed your understanding. Suggest to invite your good friend to watch together. The events took place during the construction period in Qingzhen County. Lai Zhongbing was working in the transportation team at that time. He is responsible for transporting supplies from Shanxi to Tibet. Not long after, he encountered a sandstorm in the no man's land. I also got lost with the team. Just when he was anxious, suddenly I saw a figure walking ahead on the road. Lai Zhongbing was extremely happy at that moment. He thought it was his teammates who found out he switched teams and came back for him. He quickly got out of the car despite the sandstorm. "I want to go support my teammate." But unfortunately, the wind and sand are too strong. Lai Zhangping had barely taken a few steps when the wind made it impossible for him to move forward. Just as the person was about to reach him, he was startled by the person in front of him. The person in front of me was nearly 3 meters tall, and it's hard to see the exact features. But Lai Zhangping understood. This is definitely not human. The shadow drew closer and closer. The appearance gradually became clearer, although it is a human form. But that tall figure sent shivers down one's spine. Lai Zhangping saw the monster in front of him, immediately turned around and ran. The monster seemed to sense that Lai Zhangping was about to escape, hastened his steps behind. Lai Zhangping instantly felt the ground shaking beneath him. Fortunately, Lai Zhangping had exceptional reflexes. He hurried back to the car, firmly closed the car door. Suddenly, there was a loud bang from the windshield while driving. A huge black hand slammed down on the glass. Soon, a pale face slowly leaned closer. At that moment, Lai Zhangping finally saw clearly. It's like the skin being peeled off a human face, stuck to a monster's face. Lai Zhangping was shocked by the scene before him, and that monster is shaking the truck outside with all its might. He instantly started the vehicle. I slammed the gas straight into him. Finally shook off that terrifying monster. The sandstorm quickly receded. Lai Zhangping also slowly caught up with the convoy. But that day there was one teammate who fell behind. Later, the team members found the lost person. But when they saw the driver, they were all so scared that they stayed frozen in place, only to see that the person was already dead. It looks like an animal bit it to death. The key point is that the whole face skin was torn off. From that day on, Lai Zhangping resigned from his job. I never dared to go to the no man's land again. Episode 34. The pot is empty of rice. The man's family has worshipped Husan Taiyi for hundreds of years. But the family is still too poor to even have enough to eat. That day, the bandits came to the village to fight and gather. Those who can't deliver the grain will face the gun. The villagers were all frightened. I can only grit my teeth and go home to look for food. But the rice jar at Lai Zhangping's home has long been empty. Where else can we deliver rice to the bandits? In a moment of helplessness, he caught a glimpse of the fox spirit incense offered in the room. I really can't think of any other way. Then he fell to the ground with a thud. He begged the fox spirit to help him and the villagers. But when he looked up, but now at the critical moment, it feels like nothing. I didn't expect him to finish speaking just then. The fox spirit tablet fell down with a loud bang. Suddenly, a wisp of yellow smoke quickly flashed past him. Lai Zhangping quickly chased after. Ying Shu will be sitting in the comment section. Send a dog head or tag a respected friend. The yellow smoke fell onto the drum circle. An old man in a yellow robe stood in front of the bandits, confronting them. "This village is under my protection. Please say your goodbyes and leave." Bandit leader Erkan burst into laughter. He really doesn't know his own limits. The second in command personally delivers the head, taking charge directly. He walked directly in front of the old man. The two faced off for a few moments. He picked up the knife and slashed forward. The knife was about to strike the old man in the yellow robe. In the blink of an eye, the old man suddenly vanished. Immediately, the old man appeared behind the one delivering the head. Then a beam of yellow light shot directly into the sky. The villagers had not yet understood what was happening. The head of the person being sent off was already knocked away several hundred meters. Not even a shadow can be seen. Erkan immediately became anxious upon seeing this, hastily ordered his subordinates to join in. The bandits all pulled out their guns at once. The bullet hit the man in the yellow robe but passed straight through. It didn't harm him at all. The bandits saw that guns had no effect. He picked up the knife and charged forward. The bandit at the front swung down his knife, but the man in the yellow robe transformed into a puff of yellow smoke. The bandit still looked completely baffled. Then the yellow smoke rushed towards him. His shout sent him flying far away. The remaining bandits were also panicked upon seeing this. So everyone thought about escaping. But that yellow smoke moves extremely fast. Soon they captured them all in one go. In an instant, over a dozen bandits were completely wiped out. Erkan sensed that the situation was not good. Just as I was about to run, the yellow smoke chased after me. The yellow smoke instantly transformed into a human form. He grabbed Erkan by the neck. Then he was sent into the sky again. Then came a thud. Erkan fell from mid-air. Then the man in the yellow robe floated gently down to the ground. He questioned Lai Zhangping about how things were going. "Lai Sayaz, do you still think offering to the fox spirit is useless?" Lai Zhangping realized that the figure in the yellow robe before him was the fox spirit from his home, repeatedly bowing, begging for his forgiveness. But the man in the yellow robe said he was not the minor character worshipped in Lai Zhangping's household. He just happened to pass by. Hearing Lai Zhangping's disrespectful words made me act. But since I've helped with this task, we should at least get some kind of reward. But Lai Zhangping said his family was very poor, can't produce anything at all. Can I get an IOU from the man in the yellow robe? To everyone's surprise, the man in the yellow robe threw a dagger right in front of Lai Zhangping. Tell him to cut off a piece of flesh to settle the cause and effect. The villagers witnessed the power of the man in the yellow robe, even urging Lai Zhangping to act quickly, to avoid angering the celestial beings later. In despair, Lai Zhangping had no choice but to painfully cut off a small piece of flesh from his calf and handed it to the man in the yellow robe. The man in the yellow robe took a long breath. Then he asked the villagers to go to Qinglong Mountain in 3 days. Then it transformed into a yellow smoke and left. 3 days later, the villagers cautiously ascended Qinglong Mountain. They found that the bandit den on the mountain was surprisingly unguarded. Even the front door is wide open. I went in to take a look. I discovered that the bandits inside were lying all over the ground. Finally, the villagers found the bandits' granary and brought the grain back to the village. Just like that, the villagers survived the famine with the bandits' food. Later, the years got better. The villagers pooled their resources to build a fox spirit temple in the village, to repay Hu Santea's life-saving grace from back then. Episode 35, The Man's Change of Heart. Men love the pleasures beneath the willow trees. Yet only his wife, Jin Lion, was left to guard the empty house alone. That night, a group of soldiers came to the city to abduct women. Jin Lion was also captured. The soldier intended to defile Jin Lion. Jai Jinlian is indeed a fierce woman, always faithful to her husband. So, taking advantage of the soldier's distraction, he committed suicide with a knife. The soldier felt unlucky. She casually tossed Jin Lion onto the pile of corpses. When Lai Zhangping returned, he found that Jin Lion was missing. I know they must have been captured. So they anxiously searched all the way. But thinking about what might happen, Lai Zhangping burst into tears. As expected, Jin Lion was found among the pile of corpses. Lai Zhangping held Jin Lion, feeling extremely sad, regretting leaving her alone at home. Holding the corpse of Jin Lion, he called upon the gods and spirits. Swear I won't go out and mess around any more. I will always stay by Jin Lion's side as long as she is well. Even if it means breaking the vow, one will not die a good death on the spot." Lai Zhongping then carried Jin Lian back home. "Every day I carefully take care of the hope that Jin Lian will wake up. As long as Jin Lian wakes up, she is willing to give everything." A few months later, unexpectedly, Jin Lian really woke up. Lai Zhongping was extremely happy to see this. Holding Jin Lian tightly, fearing she might disappear again in the next moment. Since then, Lai Zhongping truly repented and spent every day by Jin Lian's side. They even learned how to cook. Just like that, 2 years have passed. Because Jin Lian had not given birth to a son for Lai Zhongping for half a year. "I feel very guilty." So they discussed letting Lai Zhongping's little concubine. Qi Lai Zhongping swore an oath to the gods and spirits. As long as Jin Lian is well, she will not break her vow. However, Jin Lian was determined to leave a future for Lai Zhongping. So he called for the most trusted maid. As Lai Zhongping fell asleep, she sneaked into the room. A month later, the maid truly became pregnant. Then Jin Lian arranged for her to give birth in the countryside. I didn't expect that maid to be so capable. Lai Zhongping just had a son and a daughter. Until more than 10 years later, Jin Lian fell ill. So before her death, she told Lai Zhongping about her child. Passed away after making arrangements. Then the maid brought the child into the room. Then Shuang knelt on the ground and called out, "Dad." Lai Zhongping looked at the three of them, utterly bewildered. He didn't even know when he had an affair with the maid. The maid then told Lai Zhongping everything that had happened that year. However, Lai Zhongping became furious upon hearing this. Because according to this meaning, then hasn't he already broken his vow? Then Lai Zhongping felt a sharp pain in his chest. Then fell to the ground and followed Jin Lian away. Finally, the maid buried the couple together. At this point, Lai Zhongping can be considered to have lived and died with Jin Lian, forever together. Chapter 36. Why is this happening? You follow your fiancé back to his hometown to meet his mother. On the way home, I saw a strange woman in red staring at me. A lion grew up in an ordinary family. I met my current husband, Lai Zhongping, 6 months ago. Lai Zhongping not only looked handsome, and he's definitely a rich second-generation heir. While serving as the president of a renowned company, they still run the largest olive grove in their area. And there's nothing bad to say about a lion either. A lion felt very happy being with him, especially after learning that a lion had a child. Lai Zhongping was as excited as a child, even immediately proposed to hold a wedding with a lion. A lion is also very happy, but I'm a little worried, just as he was caught in a daze. Then my future mother-in-law called. He asked Lai Zhongping to take him back to pay respects to the old sacred tree at home. This is a customary ritual they must perform before marriage. This way, it can protect future generations. At the same time, it's good for yourself too. A lion didn't really want to go, but he knows he cannot escape. Since I chose to marry into a big family, you must follow the rules of the extended family. Soon, the two of them set off on their way home. After more than 10 hours of travel, a lion finally saw the olive grove at Lai Zhongping's house. He has never seen so many olive trees in his life. This must be worth a lot of money. Just as a lion was lost in thought, suddenly I discovered a woman in red standing under a large olive tree. The woman in red stared intently at a lion. This made a lion feel very strange. So I hurriedly asked Lai Zhongping beside me, but Lai Zhongping said he didn't see anything. Could it be that my eyes are deceiving me? Afterward, A lion didn't take it to heart either. By evening, the two finally arrived at Lai Zhangping's home. It is indeed very grand and majestic. The future mother-in-law was already waiting at the door. Seeing the young couple return, they looked at a lion with bright smiles. This eased a lion's tense emotions a bit. As soon as they entered, the old lady took out the local specialty. Let a lion taste the olive fruit. A lion, although she didn't like it, still reluctantly accepted the outcome. At the next second, the old lady unexpectedly reached out to touch her belly. This left a lion a bit stunned. The old lady gently stroked and said, "As long as they are children of the Song family, naturally they can receive their family's blessing." He finished speaking and awkwardly smiled at a lion, showing a big white grin. That expression should let a lion experience it herself. A lion felt that this mother-in-law was a bit strange. But still I comfort myself not to think too much. Before long, the old lady instructed the young couple. "Tomorrow we will hold the village worship ceremony. The object of worship is the oldest tree in the village. Because all the women who are about to become brides, everyone must pledge their loyalty in front of her. That old tree has a very magical function. Those who are reckless will be punished. Because of the sacrifices, there are still obstacles on the road. So let a lion go to bed early." He, a lion, however, was tossing and turning in bed. "I just can't fall asleep." At that moment there was a sudden knock on the door. A lion got up and saw what looked like a figure. Little did she know that when she opened the door there was nothing there. As soon as I stepped out the door, but saw a woman in red. Was it the person seen in the car? And at this moment olives were scattered on the ground. Without thinking too much, a lion lifted her foot and followed. Because a woman's intuition told her, "This woman in red definitely has a problem. Follow the olives on the ground." A lion chased all the way to the old lady's study. The olives have not stopped yet. Suddenly a pendant dropped from the desk. A lion walked over and found that it wasn't an envelope. "Does this woman in red want to tell me something? This is my mother-in-law's belongings. Is it wrong to watch secretly?" But after a series of ideological struggles, a lion finally opened the envelope. When she focused her gaze, she was shocked to find it was her own photo. She was secretly filmed. "It seems that my own matters have long been known by my mother-in-law. Don't let a lion think too much." Then the woman in red suddenly appeared behind her, and he kept spitting out olives from his mouth. It all landed on a lion at once. At the same time, they mumbled 3 words. "Uelehai." A lion was terrified, shouting for help. Fortunately, Lai Zhangping heard her voice and quickly ran over. Then came the mother-in-law. "I can see the olives on the ground." A lion knew this was definitely not a dream. At that moment, the old lady changed her expression again. This just barely got by. What she doesn't understand is, why does the mother-in-law know about her situation, but not disclose it? What is her true intention? What do those 3 words the woman just said mean? Chapter 37. Please be kind to everyone around you. Have you heard about the shocking nationwide incident of burning paper to lose weight? The wicked daughter-in-law burned paper to make the old lady die sooner. Little did I expect that after the old lady's death, it turned into a ghost to come and claim her life. The level of strangeness may exceed your understanding. Shy friends, please crouch in the bathroom and watch slowly. The story takes place in a small village in Songyuan City, Jilin Province in 2005. In this village, there is a family with the surname Lai. Whenever a villager passes by her house, you could hear the sound of a woman's curses coming from inside. Life in this family was originally very harmonious. There was a mother and son who depended on each other. I never expected my son to bring a daughter-in-law home. The good days for the mother and son came to an end. My son married a girl from the neighboring village. Pampered by family since childhood, has developed a sharp and acerbic disposition. Since she married into the Lai family, the old lady has to endure her curses every day. The old lady was originally a person with a strong temperament, but she wanted her daughter-in-law to carry on the Lai family line. She endured it all day long, with tears streaming down her face. However, what truly made the old lady feel heartbroken was, it was still her son Lai Zhangping who saw her being cursed, only dared to gently advise. And after the daughter-in-law shot her another glare, Lai Zhangping could only lower his head and dared not persuade further. Slowly, this matter spread throughout the village. The villagers were criticizing the young couple behind their backs for being ungrateful. There are two women who are really hard to bear. He even took the time to have a heart-to-heart with the old lady. The old lady must try to let go a little. Don't let this make you upset. But Grandma did it for the sake of her son's and daughter-in-law's pride, still pretending to praise how good her son and daughter-in-law are to her. I watched the old lady leave with her frail figure. The two women almost burst into tears. However, the daughter-in-law of the Lai family did the following thing, but it took the old lady's life away in her dreams. That evening, the daughter-in-law of the Song family finished her farm work and was preparing to head home, as she passed through the small forest at the village entrance. But she found a woman squatting there burning paper. Upon closer inspection, the woman's silhouette resembled that of the wicked daughter-in-law from the Lai family. Seeing this situation, the Song family's daughter-in-law quietly walked over. Only seeing Lai's daughter-in-law burning paper with a face full of conflict, cursing at their own old lady. He even called out to the old lady, urging her to hurry up and go to hell to use these joss papers. The daughter-in-law of the Song family witnessed this absurd scene. Scared, they quietly took a detour and ran home. Later, she went home and told the elder about this, and only then did she find out. Burning paper money for the living is meant to shorten someone else's lifespan. And the truth is just as the old man said. The elderly matriarch of the Lai family passed away after suffering a severe illness. After the old lady passed away, her son didn't even hold a funeral for her. They randomly buried him in a desolate mountain area. On the 7th day after the old lady's death, her malicious daughter-in-law suddenly went crazy for no reason, constantly searching the village for passing villagers to ask for help. She said her deceased in-laws were going to take her away. At first, no one paid attention to this matter. She feels that she has done too many bad things and is afraid of facing violence. But later, the villagers discovered she kept looking back at everyone while calling for help. It was as if the old lady's ghost was always following her. But whether what she said is true or not, the villagers did not feel sorry for her at all. Instead, it feels particularly satisfying, perhaps fearing the same violence. The old lady's son also dared not intervene in this matter, so everyone kept their distance from this wicked daughter-in-law, fearing it might implicate oneself. She didn't know if it was because she saw that everyone was unwilling to help her. She ran out of the village with her hands covering her head. No one knows where she went. No one in the village has seen her since. In this era dominated by mobile phones, the government dared not dismantle this phone booth, but it's not free either. Yet every day many people still rush to use it. Lai Zhangping was very curious and gave it a try. Then something strange happened. Everyone hurried to Love Aitni's unfortunate friend, or leave a like and a dot-head helmet. Early that morning, Lai Zhangping at work, a man was using a phone booth to make a call early in the morning. He found it very strange. Is there still anyone using those phone booths to make calls? When it was time to get off work, he noticed that the man was making another call in the phone booth. Does that person not have a phone? Why are you always on the phone here? The next morning, a torrential rain began to fall. Lai Zhongping took his umbrella and got ready to go to work. I encountered that man again, talking on the phone. I've run into him for several days in a row now. What kind of phone call is so important? Even without an umbrella, I still have to make a call. By evening, Lai Zhongping finally completed the work documents, just as I was about to open the window for some fresh air. As a result, Lai Zhongping's face instantly turned green, because that man was actually still on the phone in the phone booth. Why is it that every time I see him on the phone, or that person doesn't often call here? But I haven't left after several days of phone calls. Lai Zhongping curiously walked downstairs, then patted the man's back. But suddenly that man looked at him in sheer terror, and then screamed loudly. It seems like I've seen something terrifying. Staring at Lai Zhongping with great fear, Lai Zhongping was just about to apologize to him when, but the man had no choice but to desperately flee. Lai Zhongping looked at the phone that hadn't been hung up yet. Why does this phone call make the man so anxious? He instinctively picked up the phone and listened. Then he also became the person who always made phone calls in the eyes of others. Chapter 39. Harming others ultimately harms oneself. A man used his power to beat the carpenter who was building his house. The carpenter, filled with resentment, drove 7 coffin nails into the beam, signifying the anger that could doom the entire family. The events took place in 1995 in Xindian Township, Nanyang, Henan. The county's richest man, Lai Zhongping, approached the village carpenter, Zhang, to build a house for his family. Lai Zhongping started out selling fish in the market with his brother. Since my brother Lang Dang was imprisoned, Lai Zhongping picked up the inheritance left by his brother. However, this person was extremely brutal in his actions, is also famous for being fickle. Zhang New Carpenter was worried about not getting paid after the job was finished. Lai Zhongping patted his chest and said, "Rest assured, you will not lose a single cent of your wages." Zhang thought that both families were from the same village. Moreover, they have been playmates since childhood. Lai Zhongping repeatedly assured that there would be no reduction in wages. So Zhang Muxian stood firm. The next day, I took a few of my apprentices to work for the Lai family. In just a few days, it had reached half a person's height. However, several of Zhang the carpenter's apprentices had their own opinions, because there is an unwritten rule about building houses locally. The host will provide meals for the workers at noon, and every day several packs of cigarettes and tea must be taken out. Workers do not care about the price of cigarettes, but every day is spent doing manual labor. The food should at least be enough for everyone to eat reasonably. At first, everyone thought Lai Zhongping was so wealthy. The food naturally can't be bad. What everyone didn't expect was, Lai Zhongping not only doesn't provide cigarettes, not even water is provided. The lunch is all vegetarian. Moreover, the food is so spoiled that it's hard to swallow. Zhang served as a master to several apprentices, naturally understood the disciples' complaints. But it can only comfort a few as long as the wages are decent, although a few people didn't say anything. But every day I do physical labor. My stomach can't be filled. Every afternoon I work on an empty stomach. Jiang also knew that Lai Zhongping was pretending to be confused while actually understanding everything. But out of pride I didn't talk to him until the time of the big beam. according to the rules passed down by our ancestors. On the day of the beam raising, the host family prepares a grand feast for the workers. Those with good manners will also give a red envelope. May the host family be safe and smooth in all endeavors. Jiang Yujiang found Lai Zhangping and said that there was no need for the red envelope. Improving the meal slightly at noon is enough. Lai Zhangping's expression changed immediately upon hearing this. I want to talk to you before you start working. I will treat you all to another banquet. Jiang Yujiang explained it to him. Inviting guests to a banquet is a custom within a 100-mile radius. At this point, the two began to argue, but the disciples could no longer suppress the anger within them. They all gathered around to complain about the lack of cigarettes and tea. Can eat worse than a pig every day. Lai Zhangping saw that this group of people was about to revolt. Take out the phone and start calling people. A few minutes later, several thugs got off the car. Without a word, a stick came crashing down on Jiang Yujiang's head. Lai Zhangping even made a threatening remark. Today's lunch is not provided, but we must install the main beam. Otherwise, I won't get a single cent of my previous wages. Seeing this, Jiang Yujiang gritted his teeth and nodded. Several apprentices bandaged Jiang Yujian's wound and then continued working. Jiang Yujiang then pushed open the apprentice who was supposed to join the beams, because he wants to get personally involved, and make Lai Zhangping pay back his blood debts in blood. Half a month later, the most impressive courtyard in the entire village was completed. Everyone in the village praises the carpenter's excellent skills. When Zhang the carpenter went to settle the remaining 50,000 yuan in wages with Lai Zhangping, worried about retaliation, I dared not take any more. After Lai Zhangping's family happily moved into the new courtyard, a few days later, his mother was bitten to death by several rabid dogs after going out. The villagers all clapped and cheered, because Lai Zhangping's mother relied on her son's power. Usually, I work hard but gain little. Lai Zhangping's misfortunes kept piling up, one after another. First, the engagement arranged with the city leader's daughter fell through. Then someone reported them for being involved in organized crime, called in for questioning several times in a row. On this day, Lai Zhangping walked anxiously along the main road. Suddenly, I was swept under a car that had lost control. After being rescued in the hospital for half a month, he became a vegetative state. At that moment, his original wife returned. I'd only had a contractual divorce with Lai Zhangping. Haven't received the divorce certificate yet. Legally, I am still Lai Zhangping's wife. The Lai family's assets are now all under his control. After speaking, they removed Lai Zhangping's oxygen tube in the hospital, because at that time, houses were built according to Lai Zhangping's designs. His wife found it unsightly and decided to tear down the house and rebuild it. When the workers were dismantling the beams, I saw 7 coffin nails, adorned with intricate embroidery, nailed to the main beam. The experienced worker instantly understood this was the sorcery from the Lu Ban book. Here, 7 coffin nails need to be pulled out from the coffin. Then, unloading it on the main beam of the new house could seal the family's fate. Anyone who moves into this house will die a violent death within 6 months. After this elderly man passed away at the age of 78. I just can't put on the ingot shoes on my right foot. Aunt Ma, the diviner, asked why the divine intervention had gone off track without finding the reason. Reluctantly, I had to ask my colleague Old Lio for help. Old Lio, who specializes in treating various difficult ailments. After a moment of contemplation, I did not decline. But when he brought his disciple to the morning hall of this family, looking at the uncle, he remained unaware of any unusual signs. Only after following Aunt Ma into the inner hall did I realize. The old man's small head seems out of proportion with his entire frame. The bare right foot is even a size larger than the left foot that is wearing a shoe. Seeing this, the little boy hid behind Lao Lao a bit scared. In his view, this old man's head is about the same size as my grandfather's fist, isn't it? Lao Lao looked at the old man, who appeared peaceful yet had a hint of the uncanny. Her brows furrowed momentarily. Then he reached out and flipped the old man's palm back and forth. Then it circled around to the old man's bare right foot. I compared it with the Ingot shoes that don't fit. It turns out it's really small. Helpless, Lao Lao decided to take off his socks to take a look. But only after he took it off did he realize. The old man's toenail surprisingly grew over 2 inches long. Lao Lao's face instantly changed. At that moment, the homeowner impatiently shouted that the old man needed to be buried, questioning Aunt Ma if they are done. Aunt Ma could only comfort the tenant's owner helplessly. He turned around and asked old Lao what to do. But Lao Lao said with a serious expression, "Aunt Mom, there's nothing we can do but stare. You will know once you see this. Just say it and show the old man's feet." Seeing this scene, Aunt Ma's expression changed drastically. I know this is a sign of the impending change. Before Aunt Ma could react, old Lao continued speaking. It's not just about the loss of change. This matter is more complicated than you think. Please invite the old man's family over. Unexpectedly, the homeowner questioned old Lao himself after arriving. They think they are just here to play tricks and swindle food and drinks. However, Lao Lao did not elaborate further. After lighting 3 sticks of incense, he said, "Take it easy, big sister. Take a closer look at these 3 incense sticks." He placed the 3 incense sticks in front of the old man's incense burner. An incredible scene followed. The originally lit incense with 3 sticks and 7 bottles. Suddenly, a stick of incense beside broke off abruptly. Isn't this the ominous death-scented incense? Yet, even so, it is a great omen of misfortune. The homeowner still refused to cremate the old man to save face. He even arrogantly claimed that he paid for it. Lao Lao and the others must help themselves resolve this matter. Old Lao didn't want to explain too much in the face of the homeowner's ignorance. At this moment, the homeowner immediately lost their previous assertiveness. Can only feign calmness to warn Lao Lao not to act recklessly. But Lao Lao calmly stated, "Elder sister, don't misunderstand. I just want you to understand the reason why the old man must be cremated." Then he took out a candle from the toolbox. "This is a tallow candle. I want to light it up now. However, strange phenomena may occur once this candle is lit." Then he instructed everyone not to make a sound, no matter what they saw. Ma Shen and the little boy held on calmly. Only the homeowner crossed their arms, looking disdainful. Uncle Lio lit a match from 1982. The butter candle standing on the stage is lit. But as time passed, everything seemed to be peaceful. The little boy thought that old Lio's magic had failed. The host also believed they were about to expose Lao Lio's trick. Little did I know that old Lio would always remain so calm and quietly wait. At that moment, suddenly a bubble floated up beside old Lio. Then the bubbles began to slowly grow larger. A face gradually emerged with a distinct outline and 2 mottled eyes. It turns out the old man has come back to life. This elderly man passed away at the age of 78. But long toenails grew out, which was frightening. Lao Lao sought to understand the cause of the incident, using the spell to track down the source swiftly. Then the old man who had died stood up again, white-tinged eyeballs paired with two sharp canine teeth. With two little tufts of beard, it just looks so adorable. He sniffed vigorously at Uncle Lio's set. It seems like they're thinking about how to make a move. The little boy couldn't stop the sweat streaming down from this scene. Suddenly, the old man turned around, set my gaze on the already blank mind of Dashan, and sometimes it made a strange sizzling sound from its mouth. Even the hemp rope that makes a living from this bowl of rice was so startled by this scene that it couldn't leave. The little boy shivered, gripping old Lio's arm tightly. Only old Lio remained calm and indifferent to the gradually fading old man. Even at the moment of departure, the old man still remembered to stroke old Lio's back with his hand. But Lao Lio still did not look back even once, until everything dissipates and settles down. Uncle Lio had just lit the butter candle. Then he snapped his fingers again. Suddenly the call box opened automatically. Later Lao Lio pointed at the old man's feet. "You don't know what you're looking at." The master never expected that the old man's soles were covered in dust. This proves that everything that happened before was real. But Uncle Lio ignored the distracted expression of the deity, but suddenly asked what the old man did in his lifetime. "How is the economic situation? Or do you have a hobby of collecting antiques or something similar?" The homeowner hurriedly defended that their elder was very poor in his lifetime. Only a thatched cottage was left for himself and the others. Even the old man's legacy was funded by a few siblings pooling their money together, so it's even less likely that there would be any antiques left. But Lao Lio believed that the deity was unwilling to reveal the truth. They lightly remarked that they would injure themselves a little before turning away. They had not gone far when Ma Shen quickly called out to them, "Brother, just leaving like this isn't a solution." Lao Lio explained that he was also quite helpless, because the old man clearly wants to test the argument. If not cremated, must be buried. Don't mention their family. The entire village will be implicated. After saying that, they intended to leave without further explanation. But just at that moment, the homeowner's fossil man hurriedly chased after them. Is there a saying about asking what job one's father did in the past? Better not to say. The man hesitated after hearing this, but in the end I still said it out loud. It turns out the old man was someone who served in the military and fought in battles during his lifetime. He just doesn't know that she's his own sister. Ideally, an old revolutionary shouldn't face such retribution. Uncle Lio smiled faintly with lowered brows. "I have already understood the cause and effect of the situation," he said with great certainty. "Your old man is a mole. Don't get me wrong. The mole is not just any rat. This is a skill in the art of Taoism. This body can traverse the roof as if it were flat ground, digging a pit in the soil, 10 meters in the blink of an eye. Your old man practices this skill, and his Dharma body was right above his right foot. There are many dead bodies buried underground during the 2 years. Old master inevitably encounters corpses while working the fields. It may be the result of accumulated corpse poison affecting their physique." But the man was very confused by this explanation, because no one in the family knew about this matter. However, this is also where Uncle Lio truly admired the old man. To understand Taoist arts, it is, as the name suggests, a way of transcending the path. Once mastered, the weak can be used to slaughter, and ordinary people can hardly resist. The old master practiced back then for the needs of the warriors. Now that the world is peaceful, this skill is no longer needed. The man who spoke these words suddenly felt a wave of shame. And old Lio also advised in the end. The old man was a hero all his life. In the end, let him leave with a bit of grace. After all, a couple should be buried together. Ashes and robes can be replaced. The man suddenly realized. He quickly wiped away the tears at the corner of his eye, sincerely bowed to Lao Laio to express gratitude, and followed his suggestion. Episode 41. Fruits that bear human traits. A man killed a girl and buried her under his house. A plant unexpectedly grew from the soil, bearing fruit. The surface of the Beiakai fruit was discovered. There is actually a cheek that looks exactly like the victim, girl's. A strange scene made Kaiokai hesitate whether to destroy her. But she ultimately decided to grow one since she couldn't find a wife. In the days that followed, the plants thrive under the careful nurturing of the wife. They also used the techniques learned at the agricultural university to ensure the fruit developed exceptionally well. Until one night a few months later, the fruit has finally grown to a human-like size. The opportunistic man gently moved aside the watch case. There, the graceful figure of a girl indeed appeared. Unable to contain herself, she hurriedly took it home to groom and dress it carefully. At that moment, the girl who wanted to stop stood right in front of me. Unable to restrain my desire to take her as my own, I even make her call me husband. The girl not only sweetly called him husband, he also obeyed everything that was said about her. Pouring water and massage both cater to every need. Tuo dislikes the perfect example of 2 acres. It also feels like reaching the peak of life while indulging in the pleasures of a wife. However, just after enjoying a happy time, strange things began to happen. Suddenly, tender green plants began to sprout from the girl's head. I didn't think much after starting to solicit help with trimming my wife. Just advised her not to go out in the sun. But afterwards, she continued to grow plants endlessly. Drinking water also leads to longer baths. Even after cutting it, new plants will keep growing. From originally cutting once a day to cutting several times a day later, and the growth speed is getting faster and faster. One day, Paioki received a phone call and had to go on a long trip. Reluctantly, she could only advise the girl before leaving. Tell her not to go out and not to drink too much water. You are also not allowed to take a shower. But as a result, it took a few months to return due to various reasons. Just as Paiokai hurriedly pushed open the door to the house, the scene before her left her frozen in place. The once delicate girl had transformed into a terrifying green plant. The few plant heads on top keep calling out effortlessly, "Husband, I miss you so much." A terrifying scene caused her pupils to rapidly constrict. Cold sweat trickled down my forehead. No longer daring to stay at home, I hurriedly fled to the farm. But at that moment, a thatched cottage on the farm caught her attention. This led to an extreme idea about soliciting a wife. Then cautiously returned to the house again. Facing the amusing situation of a husband soliciting another woman, the ordinary girl still kindly asked where she was going. But Kaiokai pretended to be calm and said he was preparing a surprise for her. The girl immediately became happy and wanted to go see. Then Paioki gradually guided the girl towards the thatched cottage. When the girl unsuspectingly stepped into the room, ready to receive the so-called surprise, Paiokai suddenly closed and locked the door. Then they poured gasoline over the wooden planks of the thatched hut. Finally, holding the torch, he was about to completely finish off the girl. While walking, they murmured to themselves, "I'm really sorry. I just can't take it anymore. You are really terrifying and disgusting. I can't accept it." As he spoke, he ignited the gasoline on the thatched roof. At that time, the blazing fire engulfed the entire thatched cottage. The girl inside the house was instantly engulfed by flames. Yet even in the engulfing flames, the girl kept murmuring husband. Kai knelt on the ground in pain, covering her ears tightly. Tears slid down her cheeks and dripped onto the ground. My heart was filled with regret and unwillingness. As time passes, the mood of the man who sought pleasure from his wife began to improve gradually, but recently a sudden itch in her mind brought her pain. The key is that I can't scratch it through the metal sheet, and the longer it lasts, the more enticing it becomes. In the end, I couldn't fall asleep at all. Finally, unable to endure any longer, the husband stops tolerating. With bloodshot eyes, I stood before the mirror to uncover the truth. She was shocked to discover when she removed the tin. Green plants have unexpectedly started growing on top of my head. Chapter 42. The Blood Case in the Dream. This child doesn't go to school, but arrived at the police station. When he saw a police officer, he whispered that he wanted to file a report. Lai Zhangping thought a child had lost something. Unexpectedly, the boy said it was a murder case. Lai Zhangping realized it was a homicide and began to take it seriously. Immediately asked the little boy about the crime scene. Then let the boy lead the way. The boy led him into an alley, then pointed to a location. The murder case happened right here. A man and a woman are tugging at each other here. The man suddenly pulled out a knife. The knife pierced the woman's chest. Then they ran away. Only the woman covered in blood remains. Why not leave the black dog's head? Lai Zhangping squatted on the ground to inspect after listening. However, no bloodstains were found. There are no signs of any struggle. Doubt that the little boy is lying. Ask him when he saw it. The little boy said it was around 10 o'clock last night. Lai Zhangping was very angry after hearing that. It's a little past 10 at night. The little kids have long been asleep. How could it possibly come to this place? The little boy said he saw it in a dream. Lai Zhangping found it increasingly absurd. The more I listen, the angrier I get. But it's not good to lose your temper at a child. So I asked the child for their home address. Lying at such a young age. Skipping class. Let's see how your parents deal with you. The boy's mother kept apologizing to Lai Zhangping. They said this child is not doing this for the first time. Always talking nonsense for no reason. However, the child insisted that they were not lying. Ran away angrily. Lai Zhangping didn't take it seriously either. After chatting with the boy's mother for a bit, I returned to the police station. I didn't expect something to happen the next day. A colleague hurriedly came to inform Lai Zhangping. There has been a murder. Tell him to go over immediately. The two immediately drove to the scene. Upon arriving at the scene, Lai Zhangping was stunned. What surprised Lai Zhangping was, this alley is exactly where the little boy brought him yesterday. What shocked him even more was, the position of the deceased matches exactly with the boy's description. The deceased was a female worker on the night shift. The murderer has already escaped. The motive for the crime is unclear. Lai Zhangping understood the situation at the scene. Decided to find the little boy to confirm again. Let the little boy describe what he saw in his dream. After learning what the little boy remembered about the killer's appearance, Lai Zhangping is very happy. After obtaining his mother's consent, take that boy to the police station. Preparing to create a composite sketch of the murderer, according to the boy's description, quickly simulated the appearance of the murderer. The boy was also very certain it was him after seeing the portrait. This greatly helped the case. The day after the notice was sent out, we have grasped the whereabouts of the criminal suspect. Later, Lai Zhangping personally led the team to make the arrest and successfully captured the murderer at her residential home. He looked exactly like the boy's description. In the end, he openly admitted to his crimes. It turns out he was following the young female worker on the night shift. Desires for illicit actions, but unexpectedly faced strong resistance. Ultimately, it was to vent frustration that he committed murder. In the end, he was also subjected to legal punishment. The case was successfully solved, thanks to the little boy. Years later, under Lai Zhangping's guidance, he also became a police officer. Episode 43, An Unexpected Ending. This girl is genetically overweight. Yet, in just 2 short years, they successfully became inseparable. Even those who bullied her are eager to confess their feelings. The incident happened at a class reunion. At this moment, the men and women were chatting warmly. Lai Zhangping was just wondering why his spotted cat hadn't come yet. Suddenly, a woman with a devilish figure walked into the venue. She wore a light purple dress. The face is also quite charming and cute. The attention of the arriving guests was inevitably drawn over. Who is this? It doesn't seem like they're from our class, right? But the girls smiled faintly. Below everyone. I'm a lion. Long time no see. As soon as the words fell, everyone gasped in astonishment. You need to know. A lion was once the beloved outcast of their group. It was just 2 years ago. A lion was still an ugly little chubby girl. At that time, the classmates would mock her without restraint, even gave her various ugly nicknames. Even more so, he would directly throw a paper ball soaked in red paint at her. But what left the deepest impression on a lion was that afternoon. Lai Zhangping deliberately moved her chair away, causing her to helplessly stand during class. But at that moment, the teacher indiscriminately criticized her. The stool is gone, do you not know to find another one? The boy, still not satisfied, threw a lion's bag down again. Meanwhile, a lion's doll fell out of the bag. However, as the camera shifts, when the classmates confirmed that the girl in front of them was a lion, they began their usual mockery again. Is this plastic surgery? 2 months ago, her family called to say she was in the hospital after a car accident. I guess that was when it all started. Lai Zhangping felt a mix of emotions in his heart. When a lion turned around, he could only awkwardly greet them. However, what I didn't expect was, despite their brief time together, the two enjoyed a lively conversation. But as they walked, a lion suddenly asked, "We slipped out like this secretly. Aren't you afraid of being discovered by others? You were very afraid to get involved with me back then." Upon hearing this, Lai Zhangping, walking at the back, suddenly became alert. Not right. Even with plastic surgery, his face and body are still too different. He is not a lion. At that moment, Lai Zhangping's phone suddenly rang. The classmate on the phone spoke anxiously. Class leader Zhangping just contacted each classmate. We just can't get in touch with a lion. But when I found his home, I realized. A lion has been in a coma in the hospital since the car accident. You should be careful. That girl just got scammed too. At this moment, a lion leaned on Lai Zhangping's shoulder. He said leisurely, "Reunion of old classmates. Even in the hospital, you have to come. Don't be afraid. I just want to talk to you about what happened before." Episode 44. Do you want to have a dream like this? The old man dreamed that there was treasure in his house. So every day I dug with a hoe at home. Little did they know, this dig completely astonished them. Everyone hurry up and comfort your unfortunate friend, or leave a dog head for protection. This story takes place in Chongqing City in 2008. On this day, old Lai had just gotten up. I saw my son Lai Zhangping and daughter-in-law Liu Fang having a meal. Just walked out on their own. He doesn't pay any attention even when called. The couple wondered if he was angry because they didn't invite him to dinner. Lai Zhongping couldn't rest easy. After finishing the meal, he ran to find old man Lai. But who would have thought I searched all around and still couldn't find anyone? In the end, they found old man Lai in their own storeroom. He was seen at that moment digging with a hoe. Lai Zhongping found his behavior a bit strange. Digging like this in this house will ruin it. Quickly ran over to try to stop old man Lai. But old man Lai simply couldn't compete with his son. There was no other way but to reveal the truth of the matter. It turns out that for the past few days, old man Lai has been having the same dream every day. In his dreams, he always sees an old man with a white beard telling him, "They said there is treasure buried under their house. Tell him to hurry and dig. Once we dig it up, we'll have no worries about food and clothing." Old man Lai initially didn't believe it. I can't stand the old man talking in my dreams every day. So gradually, old man Lai also believed that there must be treasure in his house. After listening to old man Lai's words, Lai Zhongping does not believe it at all. Everyone thinks this old man might be crazy. A dream can feel so real. But I guess they are also quite lazy. Lai Zhongping is someone who never resorts to violence if it can be avoided. So the couple neither helped nor stopped, just watching old man Lai digging by himself. Wait to see what treasures can be unearthed in the end. From that day on, old Lai starts digging for treasure in his yard every day after dinner. But after digging for 4 or 5 days, nothing was found. This made old man Lai a bit discouraged. Could it be that the old man with the white beard is deceiving himself? Where is there any treasure here? But so much has already been dug. Not digging deeper feels unsatisfactory. But little did anyone know it wasn't long before. Suddenly, the sound of old man Lai's laughter filled the room. Liu Fang felt a bit excited seeing the old man laugh so happily. Could it be that there really is a treasure? Old Lai raised a fish in each hand, unable to stop smiling. The old man really didn't lie to me. Children, look! Our family will be prosperous from now on. The couple found it quite strange. How could there be fish in the fields? Thinking about it, they hurried over. Old man Lai stood at the bottom of the pit. At this moment, springs of water burst forth from the pit. Many big fish are happily swimming in the water. As the spring water gushes more and more, the number of fish is also increasing. Lai Zhongping was afraid the old man would fall inside. So they quickly pulled the old man up. Old Lai was incredibly excited as he looked at the scene before him. Don't say this exquisite skill isn't good. It looks very appetizing. Lai Zhongping was afraid of what might happen if he fell. I just want to help and give it a try first. But old Lai didn't mind at all, because the fish looks delicious. So I eagerly added a piece and put it in my mouth. As expected, this fish is indeed exceptionally fresh and delicious. Soon, the 3 of them quickly finished off all the fish. The story of how old man Lai's family dug up the fish spring. It quickly spread to the surrounding villages. Many people come to buy fish out of admiration, but actually I want to come see Zai Kai. Anyone who has bought this fish praises its texture endlessly. Those who have seen it also felt an immense shock. Even the famous television program interviewed old man Lai. The event caused an uproar at the time. Various ideas and guesses keep emerging. Some say this is where they dug up an underground river. Some say this is where the fish spring was discovered. There are good things and bad things. It's normal for everyone to have different opinions, and it's intentional to be critical. However, the fish spring that the Lai family dug up is indeed real. Later, this fish spring also became a very famous attraction in the area. Chapter 45. Love from Grandma. Grandma has been gone for many days. Yet she still insists on cooking for her grandson. The level of strangeness in this matter may exceed your imagination. Timid friends, please squat in the bathroom and watch slowly. The story takes place in Dangshan County and Huey Province in the 1990s. At that time, Lai Zhongping was already in his 20s, selling lamb in the town to make a living. One day, after he sold all the lamb, driving a convertible supercar home, as we passed by the village where Grandma lived, I suddenly thought that I haven't visited Grandma in a long time. So they headed straight for Grandma's house. Lai Zhongping's grandmother was over 70 at that time. Due to a reclusive personality, they do not live with their children, living alone in an old house. Lai Zhongping arrived at the door. After knocking for a long time, Grandma finally opened the door. As soon as he opened the door, Lai Zhongping noticed that his grandmother had become thinner than before. This left an uncomfortable feeling in his heart. So I hurriedly asked Grandma how she had been lately. Grandma replied, "It's all good. Come in quickly." At that time, it was dark. Lai Zhongping entered the yard with his grandmother. The yard was dark and dim without any lights. But it's not unusual for the old man to be frugal. But just at that moment, Lai Zhongping, chatting with his grandmother, noticed something strange. The big yellow dog raised in the yard is behaving very strangely. It seems that they are quite afraid of Grandma. My body couldn't stop shaking. Later, it even darted into the haystack and dared not come out again. You should know that the dog is usually very close to Grandma. I don't know what's going on today. During the conversation, Grandma suddenly said she's no longer lonely. I play with Aunt Wand, Grandma Lai, and Aunt Sun all day long. Little did he know, this statement took Lai Zhongping by surprise, because the people Grandma mentioned have been dead for many years. You can change your mind at any moment. I thought Grandma might be getting a bit confused due to her old age, so I didn't take it too seriously, until I followed my grandmother into the inner room. At that moment, Lai Zhongping realized that the walls of the room were filled with dark energy. It feels like being burned by fire. So I couldn't help but ask a question. "Grandma, why is this wall so dirty?" Unexpectedly, Grandma calmly replied, "Yesterday, while I was cooking, I accidentally set the wall on fire." After finishing, she dashed into the kitchen to start cooking. Soon, Grandma finished her work, calling Lai Zhongping to hurry over for dinner. As soon as Lai Zhongping entered the kitchen, the situation before him only deepened his confusion, because the walls of the kitchen are all dark, as if they have been burned by fire, and the stove is as cold as if no food has just been cooked. The white steamed buns on the table also look dark and dirty. The stir-fried vegetables in the bowl are also dark and unappetizing. Everything looks burnt. But Lai Zhongping didn't dare to refuse his grandmother's kindness. So I could only grit my teeth and sit down at the table. The steamed bun is indeed cold. Even if the skin is removed, it still feels a bit dry. Biting into it feels like chewing on dirt. At this time, Grandma still urged Lai Zhongping to eat a bit more. Then Lai Zhongping picked up a piece of food with his chopsticks again. As a result, the vegetables also tasted burnt. I can't even tell what kind of dish this is. This made Lai Zhongping feel a bit unable to eat. Unconsciously furrowed his brow. Grandma found it hard to swallow seeing Lai Zhongping. "It's still the same as before. Peel the black skin off the steamed bun layer by layer with your hands." Then squinted and handed it to Lai Zhongping. But when he took the steamed bun from his grandmother's hands, I accidentally touched my grandmother's hand. But he found that his hand was as cold as an ice cave, with no warmth at all. "It doesn't look like the hand of a living person at all." Lai Zhanping felt that something was off, but he didn't think in a negative way. What I felt most was the heartache for my grandmother who raised him since he was little. Lai Zhanping discussed with his grandmother about moving to live at his home. This makes it easier to take care of. But grandma did not want to go. Lai Zhanping had no choice but to force himself to eat a few steamed buns. Secretly placed some money under the bottom of the bowl. Hastily said goodbye to grandma. But what he didn't expect was, the next day, before dawn, someone knocked on his door. Opening the door, it turned out to be my cousin. Cousin said to Lai Zhanping with a sorrowful expression, "I died for the treasure. Grandma is performing a ritual at home. As a result, I accidentally swept away the fangzi. Grandmother was swept to death in the house." In that moment, Lai Zhanping felt as if thunder had struck him. He just doesn't believe it. "Last night I was having dinner with my grandmother. How could he suddenly die?" However, this time it was the cousin who was surprised. Because this timing doesn't match at all. It turned out that Lai Zhanping's grandmother had an incident that afternoon. In the afternoon, the Da family received the news. So they quickly went to prepare the burial clothes and coffin, and grandma's body was laid to rest in his old house. Cousin originally planned to attend the vigil tonight. It's not called oversleeping if it's the afternoon. By the time we arrived at grandma's house, it was already past 10. But what he didn't expect was, grandma's body had surprisingly changed position, and the meals prepared at noon. I don't even know when it was served and placed on the table. It was also eaten by someone. I was still puzzled about this matter. At this moment, the experience with Lai Zhanping happened. The two cousins were momentarily stunned. Lai Zhanping felt a churn in his stomach. He threw up all the food he ate yesterday, but even though it was ghost rice. Fortunately, Lai Zhanping's health was fine. Chapter 46. Duck Soul Cambridge. There is an evil secret technique of Lu Ban in folklore. It will only be carried out when the construction project cannot proceed. The only requirement for performing this technique, it is necessary to use living people for the sacrificial ritual. The level of strangeness in this matter may exceed your understanding. Suggest tagging friends to watch together. This is the one sensational Da Shen Juing incident. About 10 years ago, a construction team in a certain area has taken on a new overpass project in a developing district. The project started off quite smoothly. The two-way traffic bridge is about to close. Just as the project was about to be completed, strange things happened. No matter how much water is poured down one of the pillars, it will inexplicably collapse in a few days. The technician tried many methods, but nothing worked. This made the contractor very anxious, because the daily expenses of the construction team are very high. At that time, several elders in the construction industry recognized the problem. This is clearly a problem with the feng shui. The foreman understands the intricacies of this. To solve this problem, he looked at Lai Lao Liu, who was working behind him. An evil thought suddenly arose in his heart. Then he took out his newly bought mobile phone, threw it into the collapsed foundation pillar. Then he turned around and called over Lai Lao Liu, who was working. Lai Lao Liu is a typical rural young man. The person is very honest. Meeting the foreman to teach myself, for a moment feeling a bit at a loss. Xiao Lai you see, my phone accidentally fell down. Can you help me pick it up? Lai Lao Liu heard it was work for the boss. Of course, I readily agreed without hesitation, but what he didn't know was, the contractor has already instructed his men to begin his malicious plan. A cement truck loaded with concrete arrived on the bridge. At this moment the worker Lai Lao Liu had also climbed up to the collapsed pillar. He then instructed the workers to turn on the cement truck's switch. The honest and simple Lai Lao Liu was hurriedly picking up his phone from the cement. He still remembers to gently wipe it clean with his sleeve, just as he was about to look up and tell the foreman that his phone wasn't broken. Dozens of cement pillars instantly fell down. He was buried deep in the pillar. It's strange to say, since the burial of Lai Lao Liu, the workers quickly erected the base column successfully. A few days later, DarkTalesAudio successfully closed. The project has passed the engineering acceptance and has been completed. Soon, DarkTalesAudio began to use it. Became an important transportation hub. Strangely enough, since the opening of the Dakiao, this pillar, buried with Lai Lao Liu, often causes car accidents. Moreover, each accident is extremely tragic. The surviving drivers all stated they seemed to completely overlook this pillar as they walked here. It appeared as if out of nowhere in front of the car. Lao Qin and Lao Feng came here to investigate after learning the situation. After a report from the nearby traffic police, the two exchanged a glance. I already understand most of it in my heart. Lao Qin stayed in place to understand the situation with the traffic police. Old Feng turned and walked towards the foundation pillar. The pillar was left with a very large gap after being struck by a vehicle, and in this gap there is a deeper crevice hidden. Old Feng poked inside to give it a try. I will find the problem immediately. At that moment, Lao Qin also walked over. Old Feng saw that there was no one else around. Just like Lao Qin revealed his discovery, there is actually a corpse hidden inside this pillar. At this moment, both of them already understood. This is a typical case of soul suppression and bridge construction. Very soon, the criminal police found clues based on Dakiao's initial prejudice, successfully apprehended the foreman and those involved, and that contractor openly acknowledged the sins he had committed. However, the interchange as an important transportation hub still needs to be used. The damaged pillar has been repaired, but Lao Qin and Lao Feng both know, if this foundation pillar is not handled properly, will continue to kill more people. From then on, an object appeared on that pillar. Chapter 47, Dreams to Find a Corpse. This is a supernatural event that Sabine has reported on. The woman's brother was murdered or may have been discarded. The police searched without finding anything. In the end, the younger brother appeared in a dream and revealed to his sister the location of the body. The true culprit was successfully captured through clues from dreams. This is the case of the shocking dream-based search for a corpse that stunned the nation at the time. The story takes place in a small mountain village in Liaoning province. That night, Xiao Mei had a strange dream, dreaming of my brother Zhang, who is doing business far away in Changbai Mountain, standing strangely beside a haystack. In the dream, Zhang actually told his sister that he had been murdered. Make sure to have your sister go find him. A sudden nightmare woke up Xiao Mei. After falling asleep again, I kept having the same dream. The recurring dream tormented her all night long. The next day, unable to let go of my worries, I just called my younger brother directly, but the phone remained switched off. Feeling something was off, Xiao Mei boarded the train to Changbai Mountain. Because I'm unfamiliar with the area, Xiao Mei went directly to the relevant local department to report the case. The police had been searching for days without any clues. When leaving, Xiao Meiyard suddenly awakened. This is the haystack next to my brother standing in the dream, although the officer was skeptical about this dream, but still conducted a thorough inspection of the haystack. I didn't expect that looking at it would reveal a problem. There is a large patch of red blood stains on the ground beneath the haystack. The bloodstain has been confirmed to belong to the missing person, although Zhang's body was not seen. It can be inferred that Zhang has likely been murdered, but all the clues have ended here. The case is difficult to make any further progress. Until Xiao Mei dreamed of her brother once again. Zhang told Xiao Mei, "As long as you follow him, you will find him. And they can also find someone who doesn't leave a black dog head." So this time, Xiao Mei seriously memorized all the routes. The next day, Xiao Mei immediately sought help from the relevant department. Having learned from the last experience, even if it seems unbelievable, the officer decided to go and take a look together. Then, with the help of the police officer, Xiao Mei walked onto a very secluded path. After walking for a while, I unexpectedly found a new mound of earth beside the path. The officer immediately began digging into the mound of dirt. Very soon, a male corpse appeared before the crowd. After identification, the deceased is Xiao Mei's brother, Zhang. Moreover, the body was covered in wounds which confirmed it. This is a murder case. The relevant departments will act based on all the clues they have gathered. The true culprit was quickly caught. It turns out this is a case of passion murder, due to jealousy. Stabbed the victim a total of 16 times. This bizarre case is discussed in today's legal talk. After your news report, it has also become more widely known. Episode 48, The Village Stage. There is a place in the countryside that you should never go to recklessly. It could cost you your life. That is the stage. It's the place where they perform opera. You might be curious, but after reading this story, you'll understand. That was something that happened when I was a child. My grandmother has always lived in the countryside. Then every year, during the winter and summer vacations, National Day holiday and such, my dad would always take me to stay at my grandma's house for a few days. They asked me to keep my grandmother company. Actually, it was him and my mom who wanted to take it easy. My grandmother's house is the kind of traditional countryside home. Everything is just a bit behind the city. But this doesn't affect anything. On the contrary, there are quite a few to play with, because I go every year. So I am also very familiar with the children in the neighborhood. It's nothing. We'll just play some soccer together, or play hide and seek or something. This incident I'm talking about happened when I was 8 years old. That time I lost at hide and seek. We need to find them all. I first found Xiao Feng in the haystack. Then I adjusted based on the terrain. I felt that someone should be hiding behind the theater stage by the wall. I'm planning to go there to look for it. Xiao Feng saw this and wanted to stop me. I thought he was trying to cover for those people. He ignored him and climbed onto the stage. There is a very narrow passage between the walls behind the stage. I think someone is hiding inside, but I guessed wrong. There is nothing but some garbage there. Xiao Feng called out to me from far away to hurry down. I guess I have to go down since I couldn't find anyone. I don't understand why there are no people hidden there. Why is Xiao Feng so nervous? Xiao Feng told me that the theater is haunted. It is said that the ghost specifically targets those who do not leave a black dog head. As soon as I heard it, I knew he was trying to scare me, so I won't fall for it at all. But to make me believe, Xiao Feng has been following me closely. They say that at night ghosts will sing at the theater. It sounds just like the truth. That day, we played until after 7 o'clock. Went to Dongzi's house to watch animated films again. I kept seeing it around 8 or close to 9. It was only last year that we returned home. My grandmother's house is the farthest away. Once Xiao Feng got home, I was the only one left to walk back. There is a street lamp by the roadside, but the light is very dim. My footsteps are especially clear as I walk alone. It still makes me a bit scared, but as I walked on, I heard the sound of singing and acting coming from the side, turned around and looked, just happened to walk by the theater stage. The sound of the opera comes from the stage above. There is nothing on the theater stage. I don't even know who sang it. I don't like to listen, because I can't understand any of the plays. But that day, for some reason, hearing the sound of opera, I unconsciously walked towards the stage. No one can stop Jesus from coming. Wait for me to get closer. You can vaguely see two people on the stage. Everyone is dressed in costumes. The blurry face also began to become clear. Draw a big flower face. I can't recognize what kind of person that is either. Two people on stage are singing and playing, especially lively. I don't understand. You can watch them fight back and forth. I also find it quite interesting. In the end, it seems one has won. Another one called out a few times. The winning clown approached me, reaching out to pull me onto the stage. I obediently reached out my hand, just as I was about to place my hand on his. Someone heavily patted me on the shoulder. I was startled, turned back to take a look. It turned out that it was my second uncle who hit me, and he looks quite angry. Asked me why I haven't gone home so late. Still want to climb onto the stage. I said there are performers on stage. I originally wanted to look straight at him. Little did they know when they turned around, the stage was completely empty. There's no such thing as singing opera. Uncle nervously pulled me away. I turned back several times along the way. I want to confirm whether someone is actually singing on stage. When they returned home, second uncle told Grandma everything. Grandma sat across from me and began to lecture me, because the performers didn't do anything to me. So I can't really say I'm afraid. I still find it quite interesting. But Grandma felt that the situation was very serious. I also asked her if those two who were performing were ghosts. Grandma let out a long sigh. There's a saying in the countryside, meeting a ghost is just a stroke of luck not to die. It would be a disaster if something happened. I was still young back then. I don't understand how those two who performed the opera turned into ghosts. My grandma said, many years ago, those two people are from the village opera troupe. During festivals or events such as weddings and funerals, there will always be someone inviting them to perform. Later, the Japanese invaders came. They know how to sing opera. They were forced to sing at gunpoint. To survive, they can only go on stage to sing. The Japanese devils are listening from below. Later on, it seems there was some kind of movement. Someone reported that they sang opera for the Japanese invaders. Betrayer of the Hand People was executed in a state of confusion. After they died, rumors began to circulate about the theater being haunted. Not just one person at night. I heard someone singing on the stage. Moreover, many people have died at that stage. There is someone hanging inside. Some have also died from drinking pesticide. It is rumored that they were lured there to their deaths by the singing. My grandmother said I have a strong fate. I was called back by my second uncle. Otherwise, my life could be in danger. My teacher is also waiting at home for my dad to pick me up. That year I broke my hand. I don't know if it's like my grandmother said, because I saw them. That is why disasters occurred. Later, I went to my grandmother's house again, always staying far away from that stage. Chapter 49. Being kind to others is the true way. The mother-in-law abuses her daughter-in-law 100 times every day. The daughter-in-law couldn't bear it and chose to commit suicide by poison. but Grandma is worried that her daughter-in-law's vengeful spirit is haunting them. Just ask someone to use a wooden nail to pin down the woman's soul. A wooden plate was pressed down on the body during the burial. It signifies that the warrior cannot turn the tide. Should testify in the comments section. Everyone, hurry up and comfort your unlucky friend. Or leave the dog's head for protection. The story takes place in the 1980s in Jiazuo, Ziwu County, Henan. Lai Zhangping and his wife had been married for several years, but had not had any children. Mother-in-law is eagerly hoping that the daughter-in-law will give birth to a big, healthy boy for the Lai family. But several years have passed, and there has been no sign of movement in the belly. So the mother-in-law found all sorts of faults with her daughter-in-law, even treating his wife like a cow, making her work. Bai Tian instructed her to go out to work in the fields. When I come back in the evening, I will still have to serve tea and water. The foot bath water for my mother-in-law must be flawless. But even so, still a chicken that can't lay eggs, pointing at its wife's nose every day to scold. Spending all day thinking of ways to make my son divorce. In that special era, divorced women will be pointed at and gossiped about in the neighborhood. So the wife could only hide under the blanket and cry endlessly. I thought my husband would speak up for me. However, Lai Zhangping is a mama's boy. Not only did it not mediate the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Instead, they fanned the flames in front of the old lady. Mildly, he sarcastically ridicules his wife. A severe punishment awaits. The neighbor dares to speak for women. After leaving, there will be another beating. Gradually, no one dared to speak up anymore. Every time it's mentioned, it's said to be a pitiful woman. That day, the mother-in-law noticed her daughter-in-law hadn't served the face wash by noon. And despite cursing several times, there was no response. He immediately erupted in anger, threatening to break her legs. She opened the door and found a person lying at her doorstep, lifeless. It seemed like they were seeking revenge before dying. Looking at those wide-open, furious eyes, the old lady suddenly became clingy. The whole day I lay in bed, feeling like a ghost in my clothes. Lai Zhangping had no choice but to invite a master to take a look. Seeing the master in charge gave the old lady confidence. Thinking about how the daughter-in-law is alive but hasn't continued the family line for the Lao Lai family, restless even after death. The old lady cursed her daughter-in-law through gritted teeth. The master asked Lai Zhangping to prepare 3 peach wood nails and an ink slab that is over 10 years old. Then he used a hammer to nail the peach wood onto the back of the woman's hand. Then cruelly nailed to the coffin lid from the center of the brow. Let her soul be unable to leave her body. During the burial, they pressed the ink plate onto the woman's body. Indicates that the warrior cannot turn the tide. In the end, they were casually buried in the mass grave. On the day of the burial, everyone in Xiangli despised the Lai family. What's even crazier is that it hasn't even been 7 days yet. The old lady was urging Mei Ren to find a daughter-in-law for her son. Little did they know, retribution came just a few days later. The old lady's hand and the center of her brow began to itch. Just a scratch and it starts to rot. The elderly woman, tormented and bedridden. So he gave money to his son to invite the master. Little did they know, Lai Zhangping's eyes lit up at the sight of money. Moreover, they have a gambling addiction. Took the money and went to play cards. In the end, others set a trap and just like that, the money was gone. On the way home, I was thinking about how to fool my mom. Still thinking about when the old lady will die, then the money in the house will be theirs. As a result, I got distracted and missed the realization. One misstep and I fell off the cliff, pierced in the forehead by a branch on the ground. The falling stone hit right on the chest. This scene is almost identical to the way his wife looked at her funeral, but the old lady's illness grew worse. By the time they discovered it, he had already starved to death. Fifth myth, dumplings. Do you like eating dumplings? Next time you eat dumplings, if someone tries to grab them, just let them have it, because the one competing with you for dumplings might not be human. That day, Lai Zhangping was really craving the dumplings his mother made. So, taking advantage of the May Day holiday, I prepared to go back and see them. But it rained a little yesterday. The countryside has many dirt roads, so the traffic conditions aren't great. Although Lai Zhangping drove very cautiously. But in a moment of carelessness, the car got stuck in a mud pit. Suddenly, I couldn't move at all. Lai Zhangping was in a dilemma. The road, with no village in sight ahead and no shops behind, had few travelers. Now that it's getting late, there are even fewer people. Fortunately, in the end, Lai Zhangping made up his mind. Just parked the car on the road. I planned to walk back by myself. Lai Zhangping soon regretted it after not walking far. This road is difficult to drive on. Hiking makes it even more difficult to move forward. At that moment, an elderly man walked over from across the road. He slowly walked towards Lai Zhangping. This person is an old man. Hair white, spirit extraordinary. Lai Zhangping felt a sense of déjà vu upon seeing this person. He was certain this person must be from the village. Just can't call out the name. The old man must have found Lai Zhangping familiar as well. Then, in a very polite tone, they asked Lai Zhangping for his name. Lai Zhangping thought back to when he went to town for high school. I only return home twice a year during university. The old man may not recognize himself. So he mentioned his parents' names, Lai Fugui and Zhang Zaimei. The old man's eyes instantly sparkled with light. The conversation quickly shifted to Lai Zhangping's parents. The expression appeared somewhat intoxicated. It turns out the old man had eaten the dumplings made by Lai Zhangping's mother. But the old man didn't indulge for long. A glance at Lai Zhangping revealed a bit of disappointment. Just ask Lai Zhangping why he walked home. Lai Zhangping sighed at this. He spoke of his tragic experiences. However, the old man laughed heartily. Then he said to Lai Zhangping, "I can't just eat your dumplings for free either. I'll help you." Then he shouted towards the end of the road. Just as the old man's voice fell, 3 people appeared at the end. "Take it away, it's starting." To their surprise, there were 3 elderly men with white hair of similar age. Lai Zhangping then led the 4 elderly individuals towards his car. Soon we arrived at the car. Lai Zhangping was originally worried whether these elderly men had the strength to push the cart. Unexpectedly, the elder leading the group had already started directing everyone to position themselves. The 5 of them pushed together at the back of the car. What surprised Lai Zhangping was they pushed the car out of the mud pit all at once. Lai Zhangping felt very grateful that the difficulties were resolved. Lion continually thanked the elders. Saying this, he took out some money from his pocket and handed it to them. Unexpectedly, the leading elder smiled slightly. He waved his hand and said, "If you really want to thank us, please have your mother make us more dumplings when she has time." After speaking, a few people turned and left. Lai Zhangping was stunned in place. Thinking to myself, I don't know these old men. How should I bring this up with Mom? By the time he regained his senses, several elderly people had already walked far away, quickly vanished without a trace. Lai Zhangping noticed that it was completely dark and decided not to linger. He drove on, continuing his journey home. It was already past 8 when I got home. Mom was naturally full of surprise when she saw him. Lai Zhangping put down his luggage, and began to tell his mother about the things he encountered on the journey. After Mom and Dad listened to Lai Zhanping finish the whole story. At first, I was a bit confused. Suddenly, the elderly couple seemed to remember something. They exchanged a glance and fell silent instantly. That night, Lai Zhanping's parents prepared the dumpling filling overnight, and also cooked several pots of dumplings. The next morning, the elderly couple took Lai Zhanping to the village cemetery. It turns out that when someone in the village passes away, they are buried here. But now the village is left with only a few lonely elderly people. These graves have become dilapidated due to long-term neglect. Only Lai Zhanping's parents come to make repairs occasionally. Even during Qingming time, they will still light incense at the graves on behalf of their loved ones. Sometimes they even display some dumplings they've made themselves. So the few elderly people that day may not have known Lai Zhanping's parents. But I have a deep impression of the dumplings made by Lai Zhanping's mother. Episode 51. The bald old man lay on the grass. Have you heard about the shocking death messenger incident that stunned the entire country? This man encountered the legendary Grim Reaper. After receiving guidance from a master, I covered my body with a large cane and miraculously survived. The strangeness of the situation may exceed your imagination. Shy friends, please crouch in the bathroom and watch slowly. On this day, Lai Zhanping was invited by an old woman from a neighboring village to exorcise evil spirits from her husband. As the disciple of Lu Ban, wormy little evil is of course not a problem. Strangely, the bald old man has been doing manual labor since he was young. He should have been in great shape, but he's lying on the ground unable to get up due to strange happenings. But Lai Zhanping's magic was quite strange. So before starting work, only the old lady left. Lai Zhanping held out an ancient, rustic mirror. The copper mirror, stained with the blood of a black cat, reflected a strange old man. The old man squatted gloomily on top of the bald man's head. It turns out to be a Grim Reaper. Lai Zhanping asked the old lady about the identity of that old ghost. This is when I learned that he was the sworn enemy of the bald old man. That old man is named Taizhu. In the past, when the old man was working with timber, he would always come to cause trouble. After discovering the identity of the Grim Reaper, the rest will be easy to handle. Lai Zhanping first dug a pit in the yard. Then place the bald old man into the prepared pit filled with glutinous rice and cool water. This way, the old man's soul can leave his body to see the deceased Taizhu. Finally, cover the pit with a bamboo basket to disguise it. But this is actually no different from being buried. Indeed, a roar suddenly came from the door. It turned out to be the son of the bald old man. Without understanding the situation, he angrily rushed over, although my son is rather reckless. But who wouldn't be angry seeing their own father buried by Buddha? At that moment, the bald old man looked as if his soul had left his body, almost like he had passed away. So the more the son looked, the angrier he got. Without saying a word, they kissed Lai Zhanping's face. My face is still very swollen. The three old Liu felt a bit amused after hearing the story. But now Lai Zhanping cannot go out, can only request help from the mad old demon, because his method of saving the bald old man is definitely problem-free, as long as that foolish son doesn't cause any trouble. The three crazy old demons decided to help Lai Zhanping take a look. Otherwise, Lai Zhanping will truly lose his reputation. Lai Zhanping reminded that as long as they get through today, the bald old man can be saved. Therefore, without further delay, the three of them rushed to the scene. Not yet at the door. I could hear my son arguing with the old lady. Seeing that the two inside had no time to open the door, So the three of them pushed the door and walked in. The old lady wants to try anything to save the situation, but the son doesn't want his father to suffer. But both of their intentions are good. Seeing this, Lao Kin and the mad old demon immediately called for a stop. But Lao Kin and the others saw Wang's intact bamboo basket. The heart that was once lifted has now been set down. The large bamboo basket was tightly covered and looked very strange. Looking through the gap, the old man truly resembled a corpse. The son chose to trust the police officer, but unexpectedly, Lao Kin and the others also said that this bamboo basket cannot be moved. The moment the son heard this, he was instantly ignited again. But the young Wan Berxiao held him back. The son who weighed the pros and cons no longer acted out. It looks like this is coming to an end. But there was a commotion behind. A few people turned to look at the originally quiet bamboo basket. Now it has slowly begun to tremble. Suddenly, a gap appeared in the bamboo basket. A hand reached out. Immediately, the bamboo basket was thrown away. It turns out the bald old man has awakened. Looking at the bald old man regaining his former glory, everyone showed joyful expressions. The old man's complexion was visibly returning to normal. The mad old demon gestured for the bald old man to share his experiences from the past few days. But just by looking at the expression of the bald old man, you can tell this is not simple. He could only hear the cries of the iron pillar before entering the pit. Only after falling into the pit did I see what Taiju really looked like. The iron pillar outside the bamboo basket didn't resemble a human at all. Make yourself look like a demon. Seeing the appearance of Taiju like this, the old man was so scared that he lost a front tooth. But no matter how much Taiju struggles, the bald old man lay still without moving, until Taiju was forced to give up. Seeing his son about to lift the bamboo basket, the old man suddenly woke up in anger. It's good that the person survived. The son quickly apologized as well. The two old demons saw that the bald old man had recovered. Hurry up and let his life-saver Lai Zhongping out. Hearing the words of the wind old demon, the bald old man almost lay down in anger again. I believe that after surviving this great calamity, Lai Zhongping probably won't easily help others take risks anymore, because sometimes good intentions can lead to bad outcomes. Chapter 52. This fox is too wicked. It is said that a fox must cultivate for 500 years to transform into human form. As soon as the fox transformed into human form, it went to pursue Miss Fu, despite the landlord inviting many experts. However, in front of the fox spirit, it was completely insufficient. So the landlord invited a Taoist priest to perform a ritual to subdue the demons. The Taoist was both drawing talismans and wielding a sword. But a single operation is as fierce as a tiger. As a result, in front of the fox demon, he instantly became a fool. In the end, they also fled in a panic. Miss Fu realized the power of the fox demon, smartly started pretending to persuade others to drink, and deliberately led the conversation. "You are so amazing. Is there anything in this world that can still scare you?" The fox demon's face darkened immediately, because there are indeed artists who still make him feel terrified to this day. And so he began to recount an event from over a decade ago. There was a family living at the foot of Mount Tai. Lai Zhongping makes a living by farming. When working, I take the porridge my wife made. If you're hungry while working, you can take a break and have some porridge. He was just about to have some porridge. The result was surprising, because the porridge in the jar had mysteriously disappeared. Strangely, it had been like this for several days. Yet there was no sign of a person around the fields. Lai Zhongping was very puzzled. On this day, while working, I specifically watched the jar. Indeed. Before long, a big fox emerged from behind the tree, grabbed the porridge from the jar, and started eating. In the end, he even stuck his head into the jar. Seeing this, Lai Zhanping instantly became furious. Finally found the culprit. "So it was you who made me go to bed hungry every day." A shovel hit the fox that was eating porridge. The fox was in immense pain, but the head was still stuck in the jar, blocking the line of sight, so they could only run around in confusion. Finally, the jar shattered when it hit a rock. But long ago I was already scared and panicked. He immediately fled in terror, losing control of himself. But this matter has left the fox spirit with lingering thoughts to this day. Sure enough, just a few days later, the landlord's steward gathered information from various sources. Finally found Lai Zhanping, who was in the kitchen. So I asked him if he remembered the fox he caught stealing over a decade ago. Lai Zhanping is also in chaos. "How did you know this?" The butler suddenly knelt down with a thud. "Please, Lai Zhanping, save his young lady." Then he explained the situation to Lai Zhanping. Lai Zhanping understood after. "I don't know how many years have passed. Can the fox spirit still deal with him if it has gained power?" But in the end she still went with the butler, and dressed in the style of that year, wearing a straw hat and carrying a hoe. The fox spirit, who was having fun indoors, saw Lai Zhanping again. "Suddenly I was so scared that I lost my soul," shouting continuously, "The farmers are coming! The farmer has arrived!" Then fearfully transformed into a fox. I ran away through the broken window without daring to stop for a moment. It never appeared again after that. The landlord's family naturally felt grateful to Lai Zhanping. They also arranged for the young lady to be betrothed to Lai Zhanping's son. The two families' union became a well-known tale in the area. Chapter 53. The monkey is looking for a substitute. Do you know what Dead Fish Town is? It's about a fisherman fishing by the water's edge. As soon as the fish took the bait, I pulled it up only to find a nearly rotten dead fish. But if you encounter such a situation, please lift the barrier and leave immediately. Because according to folklore, dead fish bite the hook. It's because the water monkey below got caught. It's looking for a substitute. Today we are going to talk about the story of the water monkey seeking a substitute. The events took place in the 1960s and 1970s. At that time, almost every household in the countryside raised pigs. So the child, after school, they all go to the riverside to cut pig grass and take it home to feed the pigs. Once, my aunt and two neighbors of similar ages. A piece of land to cut pig grass. But there was one named a Lion who cut exceptionally fast. After filling a basket, she left first. However, when my aunt and another girl finished cutting, as they walked back, when I reached the riverbank, but found a lion unexpectedly in the river, my aunt and that girl were both very confused about this. I don't understand why a lion left first without going home, and even ran into such deep waters. Just as the two were puzzled, at that moment a lion suddenly saw them, so he shouted for help. She looked anxious, crying and shouting for them to pull her up. My aunt's friend, Wen Yan, immediately wanted to jump into the water, but I was stopped by my aunt. Because the water there is particularly deep. Every year people drown. But in this situation, we can't not save a lion. So my aunt said we should call an adult for help. At this moment, a shepherd happened to pass by the dirt slope. My aunt and the other woman shouted for help. The past of herding cattle also knows the depth of the water. So they went down, holding the cow's rope. She pulled the cow rope with one hand and tugged at a lion with the other. but wait until we reach a lion." The uncle found it very strange that a girl could be so heavy, because it can't be pulled at all. Seeing this, my aunt and her friend hurriedly drove the cows back on the shore, then let that uncle be able to take over. Anyway, it took a lot of effort to finally pull a lion up. After reaching the shore, the herding uncle scolded a lion for being so inconsiderate. Kia lion cried and said she couldn't come up. It's because something under the water is holding her by the ankle. Then my aunt and the coward both looked at her feet. Sure enough, there was a bruise that looked like a handprint. The uncle asked her why she jumped into the water.